Hello and welcome to Dreamloop DevCast. This week we're talking about some E3 and game developers conference predictions of 2018. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Thank you. Hello.
Thank you. Hello.
So E3 begins on June 12th in Los Angeles and GDC on March 19th in San Francisco. That's under 2 weeks from now. And there's a lot of big titles coming up in E3 as usual, but it's not exactly every time that I'm personally hyped up. And this year, it's sounding pretty good to me. Because there's been mentions of, first and foremost, Death Stranding. Then From Software's new IP, everybody most likely remembers the Shadows Die Twice thing, which I thought have been a Tenchu sequel. And Bethesda is working on Elder Scrolls 6.
Wait, did they actually announce that?
Yeah,
I think they've been saying that for a while now.
Okay, I guess I must have missed it then. Woo, one more game to shit on.
I think they've said they are working on a game to the Elder Scrolls series.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's gonna be like they did a card game, so it's gonna be like a pub.
It's high time for a new.
It's a battle royale game in the Elder Scrolls universe.
Well, actually, there is an article on PC Games in site where they say that Bethesda's Pete Hines spoke about their current projects at E3 last year, confirming that they had 3 titles in the works. Executive producer Todd Howard spoke at the same event, confirming that the Elder Scrolls 6 is one of these.
Okay.
Well then it's coming.
Yeah, but in any way, from the looks of it, Bethesda are actually charging up their cannons already, because they just announced their E3 showcase to happen 2 days earlier, and there's most likely going to be info about these 3 projects.
Let's hope for a Doom sequel.
Yeah, I really hope so. I mean, as far as I understand, there's going to be a mobile game, a freemium game, and Elder Scrolls 6. Oh, actual game, yes. Most likely Elder Scrolls 6 or a sequel to Doom. And these are just some of the games. And are you guys waiting on some specific reveals this year, or just looking forward to some of the shows of some like specific companies? Or
I mean,
CD Projekt Red is gonna be there, so I usually don't really care, but I'm quite curious if they're gonna talk about Cyberpunk, or if they are also gonna make a battle royale game with the Witcher IP. They did say that Geralt is gonna be in some other game, but
yeah, which might be Soul Calibur 6.
Yeah.
That or Monster Hunter has been another one, Monster Hunter PC release. That has been thrown around as speculation.
Oh.
Well, I'm mainly waiting for the Final Fantasy VII. Some more news from that, so that's one.
Sort of expecting Sony and Activision to come out with a Spyro trilogy remaster or remake, because I think there was just like a day ago there was some news that some of the code for a demo of Spyro was seen in the new Crash Bandicoot trilogy remaster.
And it would make sense if they did something like that.
Yeah. It's been so long since we've had a great Spyro game, so that's more than welcome. Even though they're the same game that we already had, but still.
Yeah. I mean, Spyro is one of those games that really exemplifies PS1 for me. I never even played them myself, but they were so popular among my friends during that time, so I think they really deserve a remaster.
Then I guess we can expect to see what the run-of-the-mill, like new Call of Duty, new Battlefield, new
Assassin's Creed
probably. No, though actually I think Ubisoft said that they are not going to make any more of those like once a year franchise games, so they're taking their time with the Assassin's Creed. So I guess there's going to be a 1 year like that, there's not going to be an Assassin's Creed, and then next year they're going to come out again with a new Assassin's Creed.
Going pretty deep with the new Far Cry 2, Far Cry 5. They are doing like just now it's released. They're doing like a level editor that has assets from like all their modern games basically, and it's supposed to be pretty robust and stuff like that. So, or that's gonna be like DLC for the main game or something like that. But they're
part of the season pass, I think.
Yeah, something like that. So they're doing something like that.
That's not a bad idea actually. I think I actually like the idea that they put a level editor into the DLC.
Well, of course, apparently all the Far Cry games have had pretty much a level editor, but they haven't been very popular so far.
Oh, that's right.
But Ubisoft is, of course, right now on the whole, like, look at us, we're not the bad guys thing. So they are collecting brownie points, which, I mean, it's a nice thing, of course, but I'm not sure if I'm buying it quite yet, Mr. Ubisoft.
I'm so cynical that it just smells of like marketing stunts, or but I don't know. Acting nice in this industry is always nice to see.
And it's always like, admittedly, it gets very cynical when you start criticizing a business for doing things that make business sense and are nice. Like, how dare they do nice things that also make money or whatever.
Yeah.
And I guess talking about business, one thing we've been talking about in the office a bunch quite recently is the possibility of new consoles coming out. I mean, it's more than a possibility. It's pretty much been, well, at least there's rumors. But one thing we've been discussing a lot is, for example, will there be some answer to the Switch by the other two big guys, so to speak? And then, of course, there's the new AMD and Intel collaboration, the new whatever hybrid processors that have a GPU built in, that have pretty neat specs that seem pretty well suited for not only consoles but also maybe something like the Switch. So it's going to be interesting to see if we're going to hear something along those lines from Sony or Microsoft, because either would kind of make sense. Sony because they already did the PSP and Vita, of course, and they kind of, I mean, handhelds are sort of an Asian thing, and Microsoft because they have their whole Play Anywhere thing, and they've been trying really hard to make the Surface a thing and kind of failing at it, but that's what they do.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the Intel AMD thing, I mean, we don't know how long they've been in collaboration already, but the info on that new chip that has the Intel CPU and AMD GPU came out like late last year, so it would be really early if they're using that tech for the new console, like, or some sort of handheld. So
depending when the console, of course, comes out, and also it's very much possible that, because it would be a really big deal. I mean, AMD already, all the GPUs in the new consoles are AMD, the newest consoles that is. So they might have like some behind the scenes deal already going on or something like that. We don't know. I mean, it's a possibility. Not saying that it's like a guaranteed thing, but because I mean, Switch is pretty much printing money right now, and also the whole thing that it has the whole dock thing that apparently pretty much nobody uses. So there's kind of like a market segment there now opened up by Nintendo, so to speak, where you're like, oh, you know, it's not really a handheld, it's a real console, but we didn't do the stupid dock thing that you don't want anyway. So it's kind of like...
I thought the user groups were like 50-50, like people use it, like 50% of the users use the tablet or the Switch in the tablet mode, and 50% use it in the dock mode or something like this.
I mean, not like I have any real data, but what I've heard is that it's by far the handheld mode is more prevalent. And then I've heard stuff like, for example, the dock scratching the screen that we discussed today, stuff like that. So, and in general, I mean, it's hard to say. Because apparently also there's been technical difficulties with the dock mode. Like, it bumps the clock speed up, but for example, in the new Zelda, they also bump up graphical fidelity more than, you know, the performance increases. So actually the game runs worse in the dock mode in certain areas, stuff like that. So.
Oh, that's up for the developer to sort out then.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Actually, this one thing came to mind about the hardware, because actually the Microsoft and Sony might actually not want to go for the Intel AMD chip, they probably want to still work with AMD, like only with AMD, since AMD just came out with the new laptop processors that are also that also have the same Vega chip, like the GPU that would be on the Intel AMD chip. But since AMD would probably be much cheaper than the combination of the two, and AMD's new Ryzen, like second gen Ryzen CPUs are actually kicking Intel's laptop CPUs in the ass, they probably want to go with AMD.
Yeah, I mean that's very much a possibility.
And I'm really happy that AMD is getting a foothold to the laptop market as well. It's been way too long that Intel's just been dominating both markets.
Yeah,
but it's certainly gonna.
Yeah, of course, it's gonna make sense for AMD to push their own instead of the collaboration.
Yeah.
For a console, like console makers.
That's true.
As well. Yeah, but I guess there was some sort of patent reveal about a Sony Switch thing recently, or did I just see a dream or something?
It was late last year, I think, that Sony patented like a very Switch-like a device, I guess, that had basically cut in half a DualShock controller and a screen in the middle. So it's basically a Sony Switch.
Yeah, well, I think that's really gonna be and same thing with like it wouldn't be completely unexpected for Microsoft to do something similar with like cut in half Xbox controller with a Surface in the middle, Surface tablet. So we'll see.
As long as it's like operating on the Xbox OS and not Windows, because I think the Windows would just hamper it.
No, pretty much at this point, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a Windows as well, kinda.
Yeah, it's sort of a Windows. Yeah.
It's a Windows that boots to like an Xbox app that you cannot exit or something like that, from what I understand.
Yeah, of course, it would kind of make sense, at least for Microsoft, to have some sort of different device than an Xbox, because they just now, late last year, had the X version of the Xbox. And well, it just doesn't make sense for me to have a new Xbox released on like half a year later or something.
I don't think the customers would be really happy with that.
No.
Yeah, but I think also the target audience for a Switch competitor and the target audience for traditional Xbox are quite different.
Yeah. I think that's the point, that it would make more sense to have a Switch-like console than a new like TV Xbox.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. It's interesting still. And of course, the PlayStation rumors are running high already.
Yeah, there were some rumors that some people already got like PS5 dev kits or something like that. Apparently, but who knows? I guess we'll know more soon-ish.
Hopefully. Oh yeah, and Sony and PS5 of course brings us to CD Projekt again, and because they said that Cyberpunk will be made for this gen and next gen, and CD Projekt will be showcasing something at Sony conference, or at least the rumors say this. So that's like sort of giving us some hints that there might be something about this next gen PlayStation.
Yeah, true.
There.
Actually, it would make kind of sense for Sony to now, as Microsoft has revealed their X version, to like write that and bring a new PlayStation 5 that comes out like next year or something. I don't know, because I think there was some sort of rumors that PlayStation 5 would release next year or something. I don't know. Maybe it was just rumors.
When was the PS4 Pro and the equivalent in Xbox land? When were they released? Wasn't it like last year?
Xbox One X came out last year, and the Pro the year before that, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
and the One X is a bit more like bit different from, because the PlayStation Pro is just, you know, a PS4 with more power basically, but the Scorpio, the One X, the whatever, that's a bit different, or a bit more different, I should say.
Yeah, I think the Pro is just like an overclocked PlayStation 4, but the X it's completely different components in the GPU and memory segments. The CPU, I think it's pretty much still the same. It's just been clocked a bit. There was actually, I read today, there was some news about a new Sony patent about backwards compatibility. And the first thought, of course, is that maybe they're bringing PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 to PlayStation 4. But then the other thought is that maybe they're going with the PlayStation 5. And since it's so close to the PlayStation Pro release, they will go for, okay, every PlayStation 4 game is compatible and does the same thing as the Pro did, like upgrades everything.
Yeah, that's kind of likely, and you know, of course, I really wish they would go the first. They would take the first variant that you suggested. Then you know that's just fair and makes sense, but I guess not from a business perspective.
And they've been super insistent that apparently that like games really do utilize the Pro and like add more visual fidelity and stuff like that. So that option would make sense from that point of view, that they really want people to do that so that they can then have a system where to show that on top of the Pro.
Yeah,
because of course they also
no, go ahead.
Yeah, because of course they also have history from for the other point, they have history with backwards compatibility, because I remember back in the day my friend got PS3 that had, like, if I'm not remembering entirely wrong, it had both PS1 and PS2 hardware built in to the actual box. Yeah, and then they like cut those out.
It's the first gen of PlayStation 3s. I have one of myself, the 60 gigabytes version that plays PlayStation 1 and 2 games.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
And no wonder it cost like 700 euros when it came out.
It was super expensive and also pretty ridiculously powerful.
Mm-hmm. But I think it would be smart from Sony to like go really big on the backwards compatibility with PlayStation 5, since now the mid-gen power-up consoles seems to be a thing. So this would be sort of both. It's another half measure, but still it's a new console. So you could play the PlayStation 4 games just as well as you would play them with a Pro, but still you get a whole new selection of PlayStation 5 games as well.
But then again, also one thing that's worth discussing is that doing even like, you know, further backwards compatibility for the older systems, that would be very like relevant, because right now we're seeing sort of this retro gaming renaissance. Now, of course, it's mostly even older games than what were on the PS1, but also, you know, I guess the PS1 is on the tail end of what's kind of hit now, so that would be other thing.
Don't quote me on this, but I think I read an article that said that people had been playing with the PlayStation 4 and the OS, like hacking it a little bit, and they have had unlocked an inbuilt PlayStation 2 emulation.
I mean, PlayStation 2 emulation is pretty, like, works pretty well these days, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. I mean, this OS is, I think it's still based on Linux, and like with the PlayStation 3, and if I recall correctly, they said in the article that it was a built-in feature and not something that the hackers added. I guess Sony just hasn't unlocked it yet.
Yeah. And maybe they never will, who knows? Like, maybe it was one of those things where it's relatively cheap to put in there, and, you know, if they do want to do some sort of, like, virtual console shenanigans or whatever, but then they were like, nah, let's not do that. But the feature was in already, so it's there.
No, actually, I think they use it for the classic games that you can download from the PlayStation Store. I think they use that emulation on those.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
but with what the hackers did was that they enabled it to read from the disk, I think.
Okay.
So it's a more of a native way to do it, or?
No, I guess it's an emulator anyway, but it's just it can only be used for the games that Sony wants you to play.
I'm still wishing that someday we'll have a PlayStation unit that can play all of the catalog, because it doesn't make any sense that I have to keep my old consoles just because I still love those games that they don't re-release.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
if the PlayStation 5 is powerful enough and uses the same architecture as PlayStation 4, I guess it might be possible.
Yeah, definitely.
The only difficult one would be the PlayStation 3 because it was architecturally so different. So I don't think there's a working emulator for 3 even as of now for PC. I don't know.
But then again,
some guys got Demon's Souls working on PC emulator.
Okay.
And I mean, if somebody can do it, it's probably going to be Sony themselves. So.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, we'll see.
Interesting. So what do you guys think that Nintendo is gonna unveil?
Cardboard.
Oh yeah, the cardboard.
More cardboard. Though that was actually, DLC. They said that that's only one of their ways they are going to expand the Switch, and that was the child-friendly way of expanding on the Switch.
Yeah, they're probably going to have...
I wonder if they bring like alcohol and tobacco extensions for the adults.
No, I really think they're going to do something completely crazy, because they seem to be going for that right now. They are really going for the whole outside of the box thing. Like, they kind of really sort of seem to have found their stride after the Wii U, because Wii was such a massive hit, and I don't even know they themselves really knew what to do with it back then. Like, they had the whole innovation, like you had the motion control stuff like that, and like it was an innovation, but ultimately it didn't quite work out. And then Wii U, of course, was a bit of a flop, and now they're kind of like, now they have a console where the gimmick is not really a gimmick, and they really seem to, I mean, the whole cardboard thing, like, it seems scarily functional, so to speak, and I fully like expect them to have something equally crazy. I mean, because it would be even more crazy if that was the one crazy thing they had was fucking cardboard. I expect they have something else up their sleeves, but it's gonna be like not traditional gamer related probably as the cardboard was. Well, I mean, there's a possibility that it's going to be like, because they're going, for example, heavy with, or, they're going for indie stuff like that. So maybe they have something along those lines, like some, easier way to get your games there to the Switch or whatever. Like, that might be one of the things, but...
That might actually be...
No, you go ahead.
Okay. That actually might be something that they reveal on GDC already, because it's more related to developers. But yeah. Also,
I'm sort of...
now it's your turn.
Okay.
It's a turn-based game.
Yeah, truly. I'm sort of expecting Nintendo to unveil like a new version of Switch, like not a new, but like updated internal memory, like. I watched this one guy open up the Switch and he said like, so this is the memory here. It's like you can basically change it yourself if you want. So it's really easy to change. So I wouldn't be surprised if they come out with like a 64 gigabytes Nintendo Switch or something like this.
Switch XL.
That's another thing I've been speculating to myself, that they will do what they did with the 3DS. They will come out with an XL of Switch that will be like 9-inch display, full HD, blah blah blah, a little bit of extra power, and that's it. But that would be probably gonna take a few years.
Yeah, but that would definitely not be unprecedented, and that would definitely be something that they are at least considering. I remember reading somewhere that they've said that they're gonna support the Switch for like 3 or 4 more years, and no more than that. Of course, once again, like I don't have any real sources or anything, and I might be talking complete bullshit as usual, but I remember reading this somewhere. But that of course doesn't mean that, it might just mean that this iteration of Switch, for example, because who knows, maybe they go for the model that seems to be now getting traction, where you kind of like do, as we've discussed, like half generation consoles or whatever. They might do something like that with the Switch. But
what was the reason?
Yeah.
We talked about this at the office once, but what was the reason that we're not getting a new Deus Ex game soon?
Because Square didn't like the sales numbers of Mankind Divided.
Yeah, basically it's because businessmen at Square Enix are massive cunts, and they are not happy with, that's to put it nicely, they are not happy with the filthy gaijin games who don't pull in Japan bucks. Sorry, that's racist, but that's really the truth to it, because like, you know, it was the same thing with Tomb Raider 2, stuff like that, where they sold like millions of copies, and Square Enix was like, oh, we're disappointed with this, basically. And then they released Final Fantasy 15 after fucking legit 15 years or something like that, and, you know, massive budgets, and they made a fucking anime and movies and everything, and super lukewarm reception. But they are still not calling it failure, they are still not saying they're disappointed, stuff like that, so there's definitely a double standard there. And it really quite annoys me, because, for example, the new Deus Ex games are like pretty legit, and the new Tomb Raider, at least the first new Tomb Raider, was pretty legit, stuff like that, but apparently it's not good enough.
Yeah, I still want my second half of the Mankind Divided.
Yeah, I just noticed that Square Enix is working on the Avengers Square Enix project, and they announced this a year ago. I had no idea, but I just read about this, and it could be that they are revealing something about this.
Yeah, and
I
think they took the was it Eidos Montreal that worked with Deus Ex? They took that studio, and now that is working with the Avengers game with the Crystal Dynamics, the Tomb Raider studio.
Oh.
And of course, I'd be quite surprised if we don't see. I mean, it's a possibility, but I'd be surprised if we don't see some Avengers stuff in the new Kingdom Hearts, now that Disney has rights to basically everything. And they're gonna do. I mean, they're gonna do something like Kingdom Hearts, you know, and it's gonna be, you know, the number of it is gonna be like pi divided by inverse square root of 2, and it's gonna add like Star Wars World and Marvel World, and like. Knowing the history of the series and considering that Disney owns pretty much everything now, like, it might very well happen.
Kingdom Hearts is a bit silly.
I mean, it could be really cool. Like, I quite like the idea of Kingdom Hearts. It's just very weird in how they name their games.
One thing I'd like to see from Capcom is the reveal of the Resident Evil 2 remake. That's one I would like.
Because they are working on that, right? They confirmed they're working on it, or?
I'm not sure if they have. It's been floating around as a rumor, I guess.
I wouldn't be surprised if they came out with a new, either Resident Evil 7, like a new longer DLC, or start teasing with a new Resident Evil 8 or something.
It was
came out last year or the year before.
I think last year. It was a pretty good success, I think.
And it's gonna be.
And also the creators of Shadow of the Colossus and Last Guardian and Echo, they might also reveal something new.
Because well, we can expect that game to be out like 2030.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess.
It's gonna
and even worse controls than now.
No, if you do like a chart, you know, where you like use the data points we have so far, it's gonna come out, considering that, you know, Ico and Shadow of Colossus were like, you know, not that delayed. And the next one is gonna come out in 50 years and gonna be even more disappointing. Well, actually, Last Guardian apparently wasn't necessarily disappointing, but it wasn't, you know, like a massive cult classic either. So.
It was a bit problematic, I guess.
Yeah.
And
the hype was big.
Yeah, it wasn't quite maybe up to the hype. I have to say that it's one of those games that you have to love it or you can't like it at all. It's we recently finished it, and you know the controls and the camera are just atrocious. it really like almost made me like rage quit the game.
Yeah. From what I've heard is that it's very like they haven't really design-wise, they haven't really done much changes since ICO, so to speak. Like that's what you're gonna be getting. Like I've heard a lot of people complaining about the monster creature, whatever thing that you tricore, whatever it's called. That it acts like a real creature, but then from a UX point of view, it's actually really annoying because it might not obey, and sometimes you're not sure if it's like the AI or if it's a bug or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. That's exactly how it works, and I have to say that, well, all those moments when you're wondering if Trico is responding to you or not, and all those things, they do add up to the experience. Without it, it wouldn't feel the same. But at the same time, it's really aggravating. It's really you're actually wasting time sometimes. But you know.
But that's a thing. In addition, you're now saying that you were wasting time playing a video game, which, like, you know, by definition of our culture, is kind of, unless you are, I guess, a YouTuber or something, you're technically wasting time.
But the game also has very, very bad FPS issues, and you know, technically it's just a really clunky mess. But there is still, when you get to some cutscene, some of them are just real tear jerkers, and you know it's a highly emotional game that it's really worth playing, but be prepared to like just get mad.
Yeah,
it kind of lost me there because I don't really understand what you meant with FPS issues on consoles.
Yeah, but there's never any FPS issues on consoles.
Yeah,
and that's why you buy one. Yeah, but yeah, it's very. I mean, the cool thing is, of course, that those guys, the Team Ico, they do their own thing, and we need more of that. Of course, games in general need more of that. So I shouldn't be that rough on them or whatever. But still, like.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, we can all agree that it has its problems, but there's really nice features there as well. It's sort of like Bethesda, I guess.
Could you even go as far as to say that it's sort of like Dark Souls, and then we have both of the two ones covered that we're going to mention anyway?
Damn it! I thought we survived this because there was a mention of From Software and no mention of Dark Souls, but now
and even Demon Souls was mentioned.
Yeah, it was mentioned. So.
Yeah, but you know, we didn't step on the Dark Souls mine yet. Yeah. But okay,
there we go.
Oh, no, now it's done.
Yeah. Actually, I'm looking at the list of devs and publishers here, and Obsidian came to my site. And what is actually Obsidian working on these days?
That's a very good question. They did the South Park, right? And then they did, or do I remember?
They didn't do
not the new one,
South
but
Park.
the good one.
Yeah.
And then let's see what actually.
Pillars of Eternity 2.
Yeah.
Is that out yet?
It's so sad. I think we may have discussed this before in one of our vlogs or whatever, but the thing that happened with CRPGs, basically, you know, Pillars came out with massive hype, and then after that it's just gradually less and less hype, and it's not even about quality, it's just that, you know, people sort of realize that, hey, maybe we don't actually want this, or maybe it's just that it's not the same scale as it was back in the day, those games. But I guess that would be a topic for a completely different show.
Yeah. But it's not released yet. It's supposed to be coming out on April 3rd.
Okay, well, there we go then. My questions were answered.
Yeah, let's see. Obsidian, they are doing... it lists in Wikipedia from 2012 to 2015. It says Stick of Truth, Pillars of Eternity, and Financial Troubles. Those were the things they did. And now it's Tyranny, Pathfinder, and Pillars of Eternity. So,
Pathfinder.
So they're working on some licensed Pathfinder game, which might actually be really, really, really good, because the biggest problem I had with Pillars of Eternity was that I don't really that much care about their own world, you know. I'm much more interested to see something like Baldur's Gate or whatever, where somebody already has a rich world, and then they get to, you know, kind of use it for stuff. So, but that doesn't even have a release date.
I heard today at the office someone was talking about a new rule set for Pathfinder. I wonder if that's something they're working with.
Yeah, they have released Pathfinder Adventures, which doesn't even have a Wikipedia page, and that's released in 2016.
Sounds like a mobile game.
Yeah, it's apparently Win, iOS, and Android. So I guess, yeah, that's some sort of... But yeah, now they're working on... Yeah, I think Pathfinder got something like that. I seem to remember hearing something like that too.
Obsidian posted 3 months ago a list of games here. It's like Neverwinter Nights 2, Alpha Protocol, New Vegas, Dungeon Siege 3, South Park, Pillars of Eternity, Armored Warfare, Pathfinder Adventures, Tyranny, Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire, and then the 3 question marks. So I guess they're working on something completely new.
Yeah, unless it's the Pathfinder thing, of course.
Unless it's, yeah, true. Oh, hey, Alpha Protocol 2 would be great.
No, wait. It actually says here that I think the Pathfinder one that's mentioned here is that tablet game, actually, so never mind. Yeah,
okay.
I mean, that would have been almost too cool that they actually got to make a real game.
I actually have... I have Alpha Protocol 1, but I never got it to work because the CD key that it was included, that didn't work.
Ouch.
Or it was... I think it was that the server never responded. Like, I couldn't get it to, like, see if it works or not. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I never figured it out. But I still have the disc somewhere.
I really like the game. I mean, it has the sort of Obsidian problems that many Obsidian games have, like with glitches and bugginess. But this, once again, it has also all the great things that Obsidian does. Like writing is just awesome, great mechanics, and I think the sort of espionage agent RPG style is not very often seen. So I'm really hoping that Alpha Protocol 2 would be something that happens at some point, though I think the rights are with Sega, so unless those two cooperate once more, then
no, there's actually
really care.
Good name to mention, because what the fuck is Sega doing? That's, I mean, apart from being ironic with their Sonic Twitter account.
Sonic Mania 2, maybe?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. But I mean, what are they doing other than Sonic? I think would be the...
I'm hoping
Sonic.
for...
Sonic.
I'm hoping for more Alien, personally.
Oh yeah, there's actually... No, wait. They are not making an Alien game. There is a new Alien game coming. With the Fox Next actually just purchased the studio that's been working on the new Alien game. Though I can't remember the name of the company. But there is a new Alien game coming, and it's meant to be set in a persistent world, I think it's said.
It's an Alien Battle Royale.
Probably.
Everything is gonna be a Battle Royale, yeah.
Yes.
Disappointing.
Also, I just noticed Deep Silver being on the E3 list, and I checked, and their latest game seems to be Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
so I'm just wondering what could they be about to show?
Maybe some DLC for that or something.
Yeah.
Probably Dead Island 2, finally.
Oh, that's their series, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think they own the rights for Saints Row, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And other Volition stuff as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out their Wikipedia page, but it's quite... I guess it has to be Sega Development Studios. Because if I look for, first, a list of Sega games, that's the list of games on Sega consoles, which of course is not very recent information. Newest stuff I can see, I think it's going to be this one. They have a game called Soul Reverse coming out on 2018 apparently. But that's on like some arcade thing, Sega AM2, which is... It's...
Arcade Machine 2, I guess.
I don't know actually. It's founded 33 years ago. It's just... I actually never really looked that much into Sega, so I guess it's just a development studio.
Could that be?
Oh no, it's arcade cabinets. It's arcade cabinets. Yeah. Because that's the newest thing I'm seeing. They are having like 2 arcade cabinets for this year, and outside of that, it doesn't list anything for this year. Their newest stuff is there's like the Hatsune Miku Project Divas, which is like 2013, 2014. Then there's 7th Dragon, 3rd Code, whatever that is. The World and Eclipse, whatever that is. Then some more Hatsune Miku VR Future Live, which sounds very, very recent. That's 2016, and then Valkyria Revolution, 2017.
Actually,
but I might be looking. Oh yeah, Sonic Forces, of course, which of course was the pinnacle of quality.
Actually, that's something that we haven't really touched on yet. The VR.
Sonic Forces.
No.
Let's not touch that.
Let's not. But the VR, new VR headsets.
That's right.
Personally, I'm waiting. We've been having a lot of fun playing certain games on VR at the office recently, and I'm currently waiting for new news for the 2nd generation.
I think Vive, like the HTC Vive, HTC announced their 2nd Vive, which I guess is sort of the PlayStation Pro of VR headsets. It's nothing like, it's just upscaling or upping the resolution, and that's pretty much bringing audio in the headset as well.
Oh yeah, true. That's a good improvement, but still, I'm waiting for wireless. That's the biggest thing that can happen for VR.
You can already buy wireless adapters. They just cost as much as the VR headset itself.
Yeah, the VR's biggest problem is still like price and convenience, and the combination of the two, pretty much.
Though it was interesting that the latest Steam hardware survey showed that Oculus had actually surpassed HTC Vive. I guess
Really?
the Oculus's sudden price drop worked.
That and then I guess the fact that they were kind of like the first kids on the block, so to speak. They have the name recognition that would still be relevant, I would assume.
I'm not sure if it says anything about room scale versus seated experiences, because I guess Oculus is a little bit better with the seated experiences, whereas HTC Vive is better with the room scale stuff. But hard to say.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that there's gonna be some news related to those in the E3 this year.
Yeah, there might even be some like completely new competitor, so to speak, into the market or whatever. Like, I wouldn't be entirely surprised if something like that happens. Also, if we do get like new consoles, then it will be interesting to hear how they deal with VR, for example. And I mean, it's not entirely impossible that Nintendo has something coming, because, as we discussed earlier, they have something coming. But I mean, at this point, if they do VR with the Switch, like, how the fuck is that going to work? But then again, they did do cardboard, so...
Yeah, actually, I've watched some people try out like these third-party VR headsets that you can get for Switch, and it works otherwise really well, but the resolution on the screen just kills the experience.
Oh yeah, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's like saying, I bought this really nice car. It otherwise works really well, but it doesn't have any wheels. Like, it's gonna... But yeah, it's very much a possibility that they have some VR or AR. I mean, and that's the thing too, they have really good experiences with AR from Pokemon Go also. So maybe they'll do some crazy AR thing. And they've been trying their hands at mobile too outside of that, so...
Maybe they go with the, like... what was it, like Sega Saturn had those like additional blocks that you could put into the console.
Yeah, to
Saturn?
like, yeah.
Like cancerous blocks that you could put on the console, and it would just grow to a huge size. Maybe Switch will get those.
Or maybe they'll release whatever it is that's gonna make you and your friends play with the Switch on top of a rooftop at a party or something like that's. They're gonna like
Drugs.
release Nintendo. I was gonna say like Nintendo brand party drugs that are gonna make you think that it's a good idea to have a rooftop party with the
That's the adult
Switch.
version of the cardboard.
Oh yeah, of course. Like 3D printed.
Everything makes sense now.
Yeah, it's gonna be 3D printed drugs or something. Yeah.
We just cracked Nintendo's business strategy.
You heard it here first.
I'm reading on some other studios, and there is Gearbox, and I have missed this before, but it seems that there's this is just a Wikipedia knowledge, this might be just a rumor, but Untitled Duke Nukem game. And, you know, after forever, I'd like to see something on that front too.
But it's Gearbox, you know, like Gearbox's kind of thing at this point is that everybody hates everything they do apart from their memories of Borderlands 2 and maybe Borderlands 1. Outside of that, like...
They've been doing some... Well, Battleborn was... I mean, I guess the game was decent, but it just came out at a really bad time.
Yeah, but that's the thing too, like, I'm not sure if it was decent, you know.
Yeah, I heard something really nasty about it too.
Because the problem is that I think they just sort of caught lightning in a bottle with Borderlands and Borderlands 2, and they don't even themselves necessarily understand what all the, you know, things that made them as successful as they are were. So they're kind of, I mean, that's what it seems like from Battleborn, for example. But who knows, maybe they just really went like, no, you know, it's going to be a MOBA, and it's going to compete with Overwatch, and like, maybe all the good bits were there, but they were just basically ruined by all the bad bits, but... Because they've also been not very well liked regarding how they handle monetization and regarding how they handle aliens, colonoscopy marines and
Oh god.
Yeah.
Actually, going back even further into Gearbox's history, I would love to see them make a new Brothers in Arms game.
Oh yeah, because they make those.
That was a great series. I really like that. The mixture of FPS shooting and the tactical elements.
I never played those games, so what's the tactical element like?
So you can stop time and you get a bird's eye view of the battlefield, and you can command your squad to like flank the enemy or set up an ambush, and then you go back to the FPS gameplay and then you sort of see how your plans work.
Oh, okay. Sounds cool. And they also have games like the first two expansions to Half-Life 1.
Yeah, I think they started with those, or those are at least the earliest ones I'm aware of.
Yep.
Talking about Half-Life, Valve.
All right.
Do you think we're going to see the Dota, what was it called, the card game? They
Artifact or something like that. I think.
Yeah, Artifact.
Yeah. I mean, I would expect there to be something, and they might also have something of their, because they have like apparently a bunch of VR stuff in the works. I wouldn't be surprised to see something from one of those.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not really that excited about anything that Valve does. Pretty much, I guess, is the blunt way to put it.
Yeah, Valve is like sort of co-developing the HTC Vive. I think they are like very deeply into the development and production of those devices. I think with the whole Steam VR stuff and that. But I'm really not sure if Artifact. Well, I guess it has the Valve name, so it can do well. But whatever comes out of that, I mean, it was booed when it was shown.
Yeah, well, I mean, kind of understandably so, because it's like well, I mean, who wanted it?
Yeah,
is the question.
I'm wondering if we actually, or is there room for another card game at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, the craze is kind of like dying down a little bit, mostly because I guess basically every single game in that genre failed to really reach the Hearthstone numbers, so to speak. There are a bunch that are chugging along. I guess Shadowverse has to be chugging along because Johnny keeps playing it. And And then, for
He
example,
keeps playing Dynasty Warriors 9 as well.
well, yeah, true. let's not go there. But then there's, for example, recent there was Slay the Spire, but that's a different direction, and that's of course the direction Hearthstone pivoted to a little bit too with the whole dungeon run thing. So there might be some like card games that are not. There might be room for card games that are not collectible card games, for example, that might not have like a strong PvP component, but rather a PvE component, that are more board game, something like that. So maybe something like that there could be room for, but I'm not sure if like, from what I understand, Artifact is like basically Hearthstone, but with Dota, and I'm not sure if that really has much hype.
Then there's also Epic Games, who made Fortnite, and then others.
Did you say Fortnite?
Fortnite.
Epic Games, famously known for the one game, Fortnite.
Yes. Yeah, they have a to be announced Unreal tournament, which I'm always cheering for the old school games of that type. So I mean, I wouldn't mind one more of those.
Of course, the thing is that every single attempt at modern, game like that seems to be doomed to fail due to lack of audience. But
how's Quake doing?
I mean, I guess it's doing. Quake is doing okay. Yeah, that's true. But it's not like a massive smash hit either. But then again,
it's not even released fully yet.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true too. And I guess it's the Blizzard problem, where whenever Blizzard makes a game in a genre, then all the other games don't matter anymore unless they pull the Blizzard numbers, which they're not gonna do because it's fucking Blizzard. So, like, it's gonna be compared to Overwatch because it's an FPS, and then it's not pulling Overwatch numbers, so everybody must hate it.
Yeah. But it's the connotation and the whole atmosphere in that game is so different. I almost want to say that it caters to a different demographic.
I mean, it definitely does. Like that's pretty much a given. I definitely agree.
I guess Quake is doing a little bit better than Lawbreakers.
Well, I mean, that doesn't take much.
What is Lawbreakers?
You don't even know what Lawbreakers is?
No.
Oh god.
No. That's
Well, let's not talk about that then.
yeah.
It was Cliff Blazinski's it's a tragic story.
Pretty much.
I'm just looking.
I mean, I guess it's not even that tragic. It was just like the game was okay.
Have you heard the tale of Cliffy B the Wise? Yeah.
Or the foul mouth Cliffy B.
Well, I guess that would be a more apt descriptor. Yeah.
It was basically an arena, like a very fast-paced arena shooter, like very high skill ceiling, and well, it failed.
Yeah, it had like the aesthetic, the theme, everything around it was like 20 years too late, pretty much. Like it was trying to be like a 90s rad whatever shooter game, and that the audience just doesn't really exist.
Had a really great soundtrack though.
The soundtrack is really good, yeah.
So it's like one of those games that you don't have to buy, but you can listen to the soundtrack and at least get something out of it.
Was it actually a premium game or was it free to play? I'm not even sure.
Premium.
Oh well, I mean that also explains a lot. Yeah, but I guess we're kind of like drifting from genre and game to game at this point.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of games mentioned, and let's see what happens. So, like we said, GDC is coming up in less than 2 weeks, and I think maybe after that we can do a little like in between recap of what happened there, and then move forward. And E3 is still a long time waiting, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens. Yeah, because there's still a bunch of stuff like, for example, we mentioned Epic. We could go from there to the whole Fortnite thing and what's going on in the Battle Royale genre and stuff like that. And I guess we kind of mentioned that a bunch of times, but then this would be, a super long podcast episode. So maybe that's topic for a different time.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining me again, and thanks for listening, and see you next time.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.